In 10 years of the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series, there's only ever been one repeat champion. Today at Sydney Olympic Park, history is calling for Steve Owen to become the second. But in this category, everyone wants to make a name for themselves, and the new crew won't be backing down. Right now, it's the veterans versus the rookies. For the final time in 2010, welcome to the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series. Well, after 6 rounds across the country, the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series comes down to this weekend here at Sydney Olympic Park. Alex Davison from Irwin Racing's alongside me, and I can't think of a worse place to try to seal a championship because so much could go wrong on this track.
Absolutely. Steve Owen's worked really hard all year to build up a nice big points gap, and that can disappear in the blink of an eye around here. He's got to keep pushing really hard and still keep racing for the race wins, but keep it clean, keep it off the wall, and not damage his car. Dave Russell and Tim Blanchard have got nothing to lose, so they'll be racing even harder and hoping that Steve Owen trips up.
This track last year really proved to be a car breaker. Not too many cars finished any race in any category. Why is it so tough?
Well, as I said before, it's the narrowest track we go on. There's some absurdly narrow bits of track around here. You can't believe it when you first drive on this circuit. So that makes it very easy to go into the fence, obviously. The marble build-up offline is treacherous. You miss the apex by a couple of inches and you'll be in the fence before you know it. And it's just typical street circuit. You gotta, if you don't knock your mirrors off every practice session, you're not trying hard enough.
Now, in terms of the championship, we mentioned Steve Owen is in the box seat, but you can't help but feel that he's got to be slightly nervous heading into this last round. Memories remain from 2008 when Owen won the series title at the last round on just 6 cylinders. And the champagne tastes sweet for Steve Owen. In 2010, he's had 3 round wins, 6 race wins and 5 pole positions. An impressive year by anyone's standards.
Now he gets past Skate.
But after his standout performances in the endurance races, he's now measuring himself against the main series.
Slowly, with our time in the Fujitsu series is getting closer to the front of the main series. At Sandown, we would have been on the front row. So I feel like I'm getting quicker and the car's coming along too.
But at the last round, the rest of the field also made gains. The series leader didn't have it all his own way, and he's passed the championship leader.
Since we've come back from Enduros, a few of the guys that have been involved in Level 1 teams have now come and brought that knowledge and probably seen a way their lead drivers reacted and sort of did things at Bathurst, and they've taken a step forward now as well. So, that's always good, and I'm sure they'll get quicker next year as well.
The title may be merely an unlikely mathematical equation for David Russell and Tim Blanchard, but both want to finish off the season as runner-up. Russell has found serious pace in the last month or two. 3 race wins across Bathurst and Sandown underline the point. It's a drag race to the line at Sandown. Russell's got his nose in front. Moffat doesn't get there.
Team Jayco Falcon's been going quite well in the last couple of rounds. Coming off the last race at Sandown to win that was a close finish, but it was still a win. So very happy with where we're at the moment. Also very confident with our pace here at Homebush. I quite enjoy the tracks that you really have to attack it quite hard, So it's going to be a full-on weekend.
Blanchard sits just 37 points behind Russell and wants to gain back as much ground as he can.
Yeah, this weekend our goal is to get back up into second in the championship. We were there earlier in the year and had a few bad rounds at Bathurst and Sandown and tried to drop down a little bit. So this weekend it's just trying to get a good platform for next year and get back up to second in the championship.
But this weekend it could be James Moffat's time to shine. It's the Ford Rising Stars' final outing with FPR. He wants to finish on a high after a frustrating year, including missing out on the last round win by just 2 points.
Oh, bit of smoke, he's running wide, he's run off the road, no.
The last couple of rounds at Bathurst and Sandown, we've been on the podium, and had it probably not been for a little whoops in the last race on the first lap, I probably should have won the Sandown round. So, look, the last half of the year has been okay, but certainly not what I would have liked, and hopefully this weekend we can at least be on the podium.
There's another title on the line this weekend too, the Mike Cable Young Gun Award. A cheque for $15,000 is up for grabs for the driver voted best first-year pilot in either the Fujitsu Series or Championship Series. And both Tim Blanchard and Nick Percat are hot favourites, having impressed all in their rookie seasons. But there's more experienced men who they'll have to bang doors with for the weekend before they can snag any form of prize. David Bernard is standing in for the injured Ryan Hansford, and Paul Morris has brought back some tough love.
It's a good retirement home for old blokes, isn't it? And it's good, you know, to mix it up a bit, and it gives the guys coming in someone to judge themselves against. So I think it's a good mix of young guys, old guys in there at the moment.
The field sits at 24 for this weekend's series final, with all eyes on one man as he hunts down his Fujitsu crown. And no surprises to see that the Armour All Pole Award for the final round of the championship goes to the championship leader, Steve Owen. His 6th pole from 7 rounds this year. He equals Dean Canto's record from 2005, claiming all but one pole position. It's a 2-race format here for the final round at Sydney Olympic Park. When we come back, we rev up for race 1. Cars taking off now on the warm-up lap for the first race of 2 this weekend. In the final round of the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series, Alex Davison's with me. This is the track, 3.4 kilometres, and on paper, doesn't look too interesting, but in reality, it's tough.
It's a real typical hardcore concrete canyon of a street circuit. It's about the most daunting place we race on the calendar.
13 turns in total, a couple of big long straights, a couple of tricky little chicanes, and a little last section in and around the railway station. So 17 laps ahead for this first race. No reverse grid in play this weekend, so there's a lot more weighting of points on each of the races. Steve Owen, he can clinch the championship in this race. He needs to finish 9th or better. He starts on the front row with a very impressive Scott McLaughlin.
Scotty's done a fantastic job. He's really come on slowly throughout the year. He's had a few dramas here and there, especially getting off the line, but considering it's his first year in car racing, very impressive.
James Moffat, long way back on the grid. Qualifying was a wet session that dried out. There were red flags. A lot of drivers missed out on getting a really quick lap time. John Boston and Bruce Oakland's debuting this weekend in the Bluestone Racing Commodores from here in Sydney. So, race 1, Owen and McLaughlin. Second row, David Russell and Nick Percat in the Bundaberg Red Commodore. Look at McLaughlin. He's ready and aimed to go across to the other side of the road, but he's got another slow start. Great jump from Nick Percat. He squeezes David Russell. So lucky not to end up in the fence.
Percat threading the needle. McLaughlin didn't get a very good start, but it was a very good start by his standards. He kept the motor running.
That's Marcus Zukanovic cuts to the inside. We were on board with James Moffat. Cars going everywhere. Shane Price, the drive.com.au Commodore.
That was chaotic, and unbelievably, everyone's got through. I was going to say undamaged. Russell's in trouble.
This is big problem. That car's crabbing. He's got major damage.
Yeah, he's busted the Watts link out of that car, so he's not going to last very long in this race at all. He's out of the race. He's just got to get back to the pits.
Remember, he's fighting for second in the championship. Owen's the leader. Percat's next. What a stunning start. Drew Russell is 4th. Taz Douglas is 5th. Moffat is 6th. He started 13th.
Yeah, all those guys have made. Here's a replay of the start.
Okay,
Owen, fantastic jump.
Let's analyse this. Percat squeezing across. He probably didn't quite know that he wasn't quite clear on Russell.
Yeah, he was threading the needle for sure. Squeezed Russell into the fence, and he got damaged straight away. Although I reckon Russell's got damage in the first corner somewhere.
Let's have a look again here. Zukanovic locks the rears, trying to avoid contact. Jeff Emery goes around. Tim Blanchard is involved in drama. Rodney Jane nearly hit the fence on the inside.
Yeah, he snuck through.
And Tony Bates there making his first run in one of Matthew White's Falcons. So Owen leads the way. Percat's next. McLaughlin, Russell. Taz Douglas had a crash in qualifying, but Moffat, he's on the charge.
He's on the charge. He's got the lights on. As you said, he qualified way further back than where his actual pace would have been. So he's charging through and want to get up to the front of the grid.
Taz broke a caster arm in qualifying with a hit with the wall, so started from 8th. Just his second appearance, or third appearance, I should say, of this year. And remember, won a race last time out at Sandown, so really riding the crest of a wave.
Yeah, he's got some good form going at the moment, and has finished the year off strongly, considering he hasn't done the whole season, obviously, with his illness. And he'll for sure be one of the front runners next year.
Look at this, leaping through the chicane, through what normally is the bus stop during the week for 355 days of the year, but it's not today.
These guys are going a bit faster than the average bus.
There's Tim Blanchard, long way back. The Suriname Falcon with some work. David Bernard, his first start in the Fujitsu series in 10 years. He was there when we started this championship. And there's Shane Price. Last minute deal for him to rejoin the J Motorsport team, and he's gone around.
Yeah, you put the moz on him again there, but he'll be rapt to be out there having a race because he's had a quiet year this year apart from the Enduros, but facing the wrong way at the moment.
This was a very much last-minute deal, an ex-HRT Commodore. Down the inside on Colin Cedars in the new look Bisley Workwear Falcon, and made a meal of it.
Got a big damage on his left-hand door as well, so he's obviously copped a big hit on the first lap there. And light contact with the wall, but once he gets facing the right way, he'll be good to go again.
Another replay. This is Tony Bates, the former Commodore Cup racer who's raced as teammates in the past with Jeff Emery. His first run in Matthew White's Falcon, but having some dramas. Really impressive run from Scott McLaughlin. He's part of Stone Brothers Racing in that Fujitsu Falcon, so you've seen him firsthand. For a 17-year-old, he's developed very nicely.
He hasn't done any car racing apart from V8 Supercars, so pretty big jump. It's an unbelievable jump. Moffat up the inside again, great move, charging through big time.
Drew Russell loses a spot. Did a great job to qualify on the third row of the grid. Here's Shane Price in with pretty decent damage, and I wouldn't mind betting that exhaust is damage from the contact too.
Yeah, I think Moffat's catching up to the back of Scott McLaughlin, so Scott's got to keep it out of the mirrors a little bit, but he's going to have his mirrors full of Moffat in not very long at all. And
McLaughlin's got some serious amounts of racing. He's been over to New Zealand to take part in the NZV8 series with a team run by Nigel Barclay, former team manager for Paul Morris's Champ Series team. He'll do the rest of that series over summer, but I reckon he's going to get some extra training here because James Moffat is looking really speedy.
Yeah, Moffat's got a lot of experience under his belt, and he's going to fill any gap he can find that Scotty leaves. So Scotty's got to keep his vision forward and keep pushing. One
of the really notable aspects of the Ford Performance Racing Run Falcons is the rear view mirror. Is that the biggest mirror you've seen?
I've never seen a mirror that big in my life. It's really NASCAR style. I mean, I don't want to look in the mirror that much, so don't need to see a mirror that big, but personal preference there. See the cars launching over the curb. One of the big, Moffat's right on the back of McLaughlin. He's going to have a lunge up the inside here. Turn 8's a good overtaking spot. Chooses not to do it this time round. But the curbs are a big aspect about the Homebush circuit. They're extremely hard on the car, but you have no choice at all but to launch a car over them. So it feels like you're breaking it in half sometimes.
Turn 9 is always difficult. It's a roller coaster with the road up and down, but Moffat makes the move. Sticky's through to third place.
Taz Douglas trying a similar move on Drew Russell there, but didn't quite pull it off. But he's pushing hard as well.
Steve Owen out in front. Nick Percat sits second in the Bundaberg Red Commodore. Of course, a range of drivers fighting for second place in the championship. Let's have a look again on the replay. David Bernard with a huge lock-up in the Repco Falcon. And did he get Tim Blanchard? If he didn't, he missed him by inches.
He's going to have two 50-cent coins bolted to his front wheel hubs after those lock-ups, I can tell you.
McLaughlin now just falling back into the clutches of Drew Russell in the ESET Falcon. And they made a pad change to this car in the second practice session, and it just didn't really work out. But nevertheless, 6th on the grid. Stunning performance from this team from Newcastle. Came into the weekend 10th in the championship. His little rookie brother is 7th in the points coming into the weekend, but Taz Douglas looks like he's got a bit more pace.
Yeah, Taz Douglas is pushing really hard. He's right. Smoke out of Scotty's car there. That looks like some sort of front suspension failure. A bit odd.
Now, this is not new. At Sandown, there was a similar problem with the Fujitsu Falcon that wiped him out of one of the races there.
Yeah.
And now he's going to have to give away some spots because he's a wounded walking Falcon.
He's definitely on his way straight back to the pits there. He's just got to limp it back because he's going to be out of the race. Yeah, I don't think he's had contact with anything, so that's a bit odd. But as I said before, the curbs here are just so hard on the car. It feels horrible every time you hit them, but the cars should be strong enough to take it. So it will be interesting to see what's going on there.
Paul Morris sneaks on through in the Love Commodore. Marcus Zakanovic is next, and Daniel Gillison right in the mix, the young Kiwi. It's tough stuff, though, for Scott McLaughlin. He's going to have to limp this one back to pit lane and watch the rest of the field just charge on by.
Yeah, he's still pushing pretty hard. I mean, it's all like,
James Moffat.
Big moment.
He did hit the fence. Wow, that was tight. McLaughlin's got massive problems. He's heading to the pits. We'll head to the break and come back with more from Sydney Olympic Park. Back at Sydney Olympic Park with the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series, and there's been plenty going on while we're away. Drew Russell has got a huge problem. He's tapped the wall and broken the Watts linkage in the rear of that car. How's this, though? Race leader, championship leader, Steve Owen nearly fires the Commodore into the fence.
It's very wide there.
And Paul Fiore, straight into turn 1. Aaron McGill managed to make it through. And Taz Douglas has hit the concrete too with what looked like some form of a brake failure. Just couldn't stop that Commodore. And that brought out the safety car. And now we go back to a restart.
Go Steve Owen, banking the field up, but then he's dropped the hammer now. He'll try and get a nice clear restart, so Percat's not close enough to have a lunge at him.
Tim Blanchard's managed to pick his way back through the order. This safety car's been a big help for him to move up to 4th. On board the Bob Jane Team Arts Falcon with Rodney Jane, the ex-Bathurst winning chassis from 2008. But really good run here from Nick Percat. He's got a really good gauge here. He's got Steve Owen in front in a former Tasman Motorsport Commodore that is clearly a very good car. He's got a really good gauge to mark himself off.
This is a good opportunity for Nick to try and tack onto the back of Steve Owen and see if he can hang with him, because he's the happiest he's been with his car all year this weekend. He's really happy with how it's going. And, you know, he's had really good pace. This is obviously his best result of the year.
Percat had a disaster at Sandown. It dropped him back to 5th in the championship coming into this weekend, so he really wants to go out on a high in this ex-Bathurst winning. There's all these Bathurst winning cars. It's the 09 Bathurst winning chassis from Garth Tanner and Will Davison. Morris 5th, Sukanovic 6th, then Gillison, David Bernard, Rodney Jane, Aaron Russell.
Well, James Moffat pushing really hard. Obviously, we saw him have a bit of a slip-up before, but it seems as though he hasn't done too much damage to his car, so he'll be hoping to make up another spot soon, and he's really pressuring Nick Percat there.
We jump on board the Norton 360 Falcon. Steve Owen getting this margin on the restart.
Yeah, no, he's definitely the pace of the field at the moment. Nick Percat hasn't been able to hang with him. He's doing a good job, but it's always harder to hang with the guy in front of you when you've got so much pressure from behind. But it's important in these situations that he keeps out of the mirror, keeps his vision forward, because as soon as he starts looking backwards, you know he's going to lose that spot.
And the thing to remember too is that 2 races this weekend, 8 tyres in use. Moffat looks, Percat will not have a bar of it, turns into the turn and takes off up the road.
James didn't get his car far enough up alongside there, and Nick Percat did a great job giving him a bit of space and avoiding the contact.
Owen's getting away. This fight is on between a guy who's trying to win the Mike Cable Young Gun Award and the guy who won it last year, James Moffat. Moffat has not won a race this season, has not won a round, has not taken a pole. He's had a couple of podiums, but by and large, 2010's a year he probably wants to forget.
Considering he's more often than not been probably arguably the fastest car on the track, he really should have had more results than he has this year, but he's made too many mistakes, had a few things happen which probably aren't his fault, but there's definitely been no lacking pace there in the Norton 360 Falcon.
Notice too that the sequential gearbox used in the Fujitsu series has now been introduced, and we'll see the FG Falcon in 2011 be introduced to this championship.
Which I think is a great thing. It puts the guys using Fords on a level playing field with the guys running Holdens, obviously with the VE Commodores, so you know, it's good timing there.
Oh, that was tight too. Moffat is putting big pressure on the rear of Nick Percat. And Percat only just made it out for qualifying because the officials wouldn't let him onto the track because the wiper motor wasn't working, so he only got 10 minutes and 1 flying lap. So he really could have been back where James Moffat was on the grid.
Yeah, he did a very good job to recover from that because you need as many miles as possible around these street circuits. Moffat locking the rear brakes. He's pushing hard. He's letting, bit of a touch of the wall there too, as always. Plenty of action there from Moffat's car, but he's letting Nick know he's there. He's giving him a little tap here and there, keeping the pressure up.
Craig Wilson from Alpenshaw Racing likes what he sees. His team's young protege, Nick Percat, is travelling along very, very nicely, but here's this replay. Moffat standing on the throttle, bumping the fence with the right rear.
Here we go from the onboard. Just a little bit too hard on the gas, a little bit of oversteer, and as you can see, there's no room for error on these street circuits. It's just a wall.
Bit of damage here to Tom Tweedy's car, the Formula 3 racer who finished 3rd in this year's championship, his V8 debut, the son of former touring car and historic racer Rob Tweedy. We ride aboard with Colin Cedars in the Bisley Workwear Falcon. Had contact with the wall in practice and qualifying, and actually had his first test last week in 2 years, so good to get back behind the wheel. Notice too, using the older version H-pattern gearbox.
Yeah, I mean, I miss running the H-pattern boxes. They're a lot of fun, and it's actually on some circuits it's easier to be able to skip gears, but he's looking nice and relaxed in there, doing a good job.
Just in behind Aaron McGill as well. He's got Warren Davis from Howard Racing along to help engineer that car this weekend, but here is the man who leads the way, Steve Owen. Remember, a race winner at the Armour All Gold Coast 600 with Jamie Whincup, and charging on towards his second Fujitsu crown.
He's a class act, Steve. You know, he's 3.5 seconds out in front now and doing it easy, but he's very experienced. you know, obviously showed he's more than capable of running right up the front in the main series. And, you know, we started racing Formula Fords at a similar time, so we sort of moved up sometimes together.
Bit of chat around the paddock this weekend that we will see Owen in the Champ Series next year. The hot tip is that he will replace Greg Murphy at Paul Morris Motorsport, so we'll wait and see what happens there in the off-season. But chat too about James Moffat and whether he might end up in the main game. Tom Tweedy is finding his V8 debut just a little difficult.
Tom sporting a little bit of nose damage there as well.
He's not the only one struggling. Nathan Vince locks the rears down at turn 1. The West Aussie ends up in the tyre wall. Here's Marcus Sukanovic, first time at Sydney Olympic Park. Got a hit from Aaron McGill in qualifying, actually, but it's a good sign when you're chasing down a main game experienced driver and car.
Absolutely, and Paul Morris has proven to be right on the pace this year when he's hopped in the development series, so Marcus having a good race there with Paul. They're battling hard. One of the interesting things which happens on these street circuits is you'll see a lot of cars locking rear brakes and running up the escape road due to that. And that's because it's so hot and there's not much fresh air flowing through the cars. The front brakes start to fade. The rear brakes keep working at their normal efficiency, and therefore you have big dramas locking rear brakes.
Just back behind this pack, the black and white Commodore, that's Daniel Gillison, who's done a couple of rounds this year for Greg Murphy Racing. Really big raps on this young guy. Has been very impressive. Debuted at Winton, led the race there in the reverse grid second race.
Yeah,
Zukanovic's keeping this pressure on, and he's going to launch a move. Not quite.
Yeah, he thought better of it. It was a good move there because he didn't get his car far enough up alongside Paul Morris, and that was just going to end up in damage.
Tim Blanchard just up in front in the Sirame Falcon from the Sonic Motor Racing squad. But Steve Owen now has taken off on his final lap. He's only 3.5 kilometres from sealing the deal, the Fujitsu Series Championship.
Considering he wasn't even 100% locked in to do the whole season at the start of the year, he was sort of going on a race-by-race basis. It's a fantastic result, and it's great to see Greg Murphy Racing, you know, right up the front of another championship.
Sukanovic again launches a move, just snags the left front at turn 1. He's got enough pace, but just not quite in the right spots on the track.
He keeps sticking his nose in when he's not pulling those moves off. You either got to commit 100%, get your whole car in there and make a good lunge of it, or stay back.
Steve Owen through the chicane for the final time now. Greg Murphy Racing had not won in the Fujitsu Series until this year when they got Steve Owen on board and R&J batteries and EarthX. It's created a combination that would go very well in the Championship Series, let alone in the Fujitsu Series. But he's on his way home now, only a handful of corners to go.
Yeah, Steve Owen's car looks beautiful on the track. It's riding the bumps and the curbs really nicely. It's not getting out of shape anywhere. He's able to drive it hard and fast, obviously looking by how fast he's been all year.
And just up in front, David Russell is just limping to get to the line. He'll finish 18th if he can make it around. He'll let Steve Owen go by and save doing another lap in that wounded car. But off the final turn, Steve Owen has done it. He's a two-time Fujitsu Series champion, a dominant performance from pole position. And Greg Murphy Racing become the 11th different team in 11 years of Fujitsu Series racing to clinch the championship.
It's great for GMR to get another championship as well. They've got a couple of Carrera Cup championships, one with yours truly under their belt, so great to see them get a Fujitsu Series championship as well.
Nick Percat, great drive in second. Marcus Sukanovic in sixth. Daniel Gillison from 16th to 7th. Aaron Russell and Jeff Emery rounding out the top 10, but the champ is back to pit lane to a very happy Greg Murphy Racing crew. He didn't need to win this race to clinch a championship. Ninth would have done it, but 150 points will work as well.
Steve, congratulations. The 2010 Fujitsu Series Championship is yours.
Yeah, it was just went perfectly, really. Fastest in both sessions and pole position, 6th for the season, and just a nice race. And the car's been great. Everyone at Greg Murphy Racing really deserves this win. You know, they're a fantastic team. They're really, you know, the Triple Eight of Fujitsu Series, and the championship goes to them.
And you can't say that James Moffat wasn't trying. The Norton 360 car finished in third, and he was on fire for more than one reason as he chased home Nick Percat and Steve Owen. Stick with us after the break. It's the final race of the year in the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series.